Hi, my fellow broke aristocrats. It's me, Dr. Whimsy, and today I'm talking a little bit about emergency funds and some things that I've done to make sure that I'm healthy and happy on a budget. The reason I want to talk about emergency funds is because people have brought it up quite a bit, and there's a lot of debate about what constitutes a good emergency fund. The truth of the matter is that there is no right answer. I do know that people who follow the Dave Ramsey plan start with $1,000 and then they begin cutting back on their credit card or their debt, starting with the smallest to the biggest. That system works fine, but I really think that people have to really go with your gut instincts on this. You really have to look at your unique system rather than what you heard from somebody else, or maybe it worked for somebody that's living in a small town who's living with their parents or has a spouse or somebody else who's helping with those finances. Everybody's situation is different. If you're living in a large city, an expensive city, whether it's Philadelphia or Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, those are extremely expensive cities. And so you have to look at things from the unique financial situation you're in and what the expenses are, rent, etc., where you're at. If you find yourself in a situation where you've lost your job and you have nowhere to turn and you've only got $1,000 in savings, you're going to potentially be putting yourself in a really dangerous situation, particularly if you've just chopped up your credit cards. Now you've got no safety net and you've only got $1,000. We don't want to be seeing somebody who's doing everything right, trying to get on their feet, and then winds up actually in a worse situation than they started off. If you are in that situation, don't have a family member that can bail you out, you're on your own, you don't have a spouse, you're in a major city, you're living paycheck to paycheck, what are some things that you can do in addition to having an emergency fund? First and foremost is make sure you've got your four walls. Start building that emergency fund. But what I would say, and I've said it before, is continue to build the emergency fund while paying off your debt. I know it is not the Dave Ramsey plan, but I'm talking about people that have nowhere to turn, nowhere to go, cannot rely on family and friends, and they're living in a major city where rents are starting at $1,600 to $1,700 a month for a studio. A one bedroom, I think, is running about $2,400 a month here in LA. I've heard people say, we'll just move. If you've started a business, or if you've got roots, or if your career has taken you to a large city, it's really not an option to pack up and move. And actually packing up and moving and having to start the whole process all over again may, you guessed it, put you in an even worse financial situation than the one you're eking by in the large city, where at the very least you've got a job and options to work. So that, for that reason, if you're in that situation, and people have criticized me for being in this situation, but to put yourself in my perspective, I have no family that I can lean on, I have no husband I can lean on, and I live in Los Angeles where I'm renting a room for $850 a month. I see very clearly, and I'm 55. Today's my birthday. Yay! Dr. Whimsy turned 55. So I have to think in terms of my safety and what's going to happen if the boat sinks. Can I take care of myself? That is why I always put money aside in an emergency fund every month. Yes, I've drawn on my emergency fund. Those things have happened. But in addition to paying off my debt, and doing my sinking funds and everything else I'm supposed to be doing, I personally, because of my unique situation, have chosen to put a little bit aside in that emergency fund while paying off debt. Look at your situation. You know your situation better than anybody else. Find the system that works best for you. Again, if you've got a job, if you've got a stable home, if you've got a family, if you're living in a small town where you don't need a large emergency fund, if your health is good, let's hope everyone stays healthy and they're not going to be seeing any emergencies in terms of health care, etc. All of that has to be taken into consideration when you create your budget, particularly if you're looking at emergency funds and what the worst case scenario could be. And I have also talked to people about that here at Broke Aristocrats. Be optimistic, think on the bright side, but also think about the worst case scenario. Are you ready? Are you prepared? And if you're not prepared, what can you do to get prepared? All right, my fellow Broke Aristocrats, this is just a brief video from me to you about how I'm handling my my emergency funds, and hopefully you're taking care of yourselves as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.